about immigration law. We've got Ken Riley, he's our host attorney, and it's a great subject.
Yeah, it is. It's one that's going to affect, has a potential to affect so many people in Alabama, so many of our viewers. So tonight we're going to talk about how does this new law, how potentially would it affect you? What about household workers,
Sure.
Workers at your home? And why don't immigrants just apply for legal immigration? We got a great guest on tonight. We're going to go over all those things and talk about how they may affect you. Coming up in just a few minutes.
Yeah, the number 741-7474. We're going to go ahead and open our phone lines to get your calls going. Of course, LawCall will be on right after the news.
This is Fox 6 WBRC LawCall.
Good Sunday night to you. Welcome into LawCall. Each week here on the show, we take on a different legal topic and take your questions live on the air, providing free legal advice and information. Tonight, our topic is going to be immigration law, and how that affects you. Our phone lines are open, so if you have a question, feel free to call us. 741-7474 is our number. Before we go to our phones tonight, we're going to show you what's coming up the next few weeks ahead. September 18th, we're going to discuss tornado damage part 2, the claims that are involved in that. September 25th will be bankruptcy. October 2nd, nursing home negligence. And we have a new email, a couple of email addresses set up, so it's real easy to email Kirby and Ken. They're our host attorneys that come on each week. Kirby Ferris, his is Kirby@LawCallTV.com, and Ken Riley, he's at Ken@LawCallTV.com. So real simple. And so if you're watching the show and if you have a question, maybe even after the show goes off and you need some more advice, feel free to shoot those guys an email. They'll be happy to respond and hopefully help you out. Tonight's topic, though, we are discussing immigration law, and a very important and timely subject matter affecting a lot of Alabamians. And so we're going to discuss how it affects you and what to expect from it. Right, Ken?
Yeah, well, you know, the law was supposed to go in effect at the beginning of September. Federal Judge Sharon Blackburn has stayed that. It's a legal term for basically delayed the decision, postponed it for 30 days, I believe. So it could go into effect any time now after that 30 days has expired. So we thought that it was a good idea to expose our viewers to this particular immigration law, because it could affect so many people, not just the immigrants, but also people who hire immigrants,
sure.
People who transport immigrants. So tonight we've got Freddie Rubio, a friend of mine, excellent attorney here in town, who practices in this arena and other things, but you have a special knowledge, I think, of and understanding of this particular subject. And in fact, you've been on talk shows and TV shows across Alabama talking about this. So, Freddie, thank you for being here. Yeah. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm originally from Puerto Rico, but I've been in Alabama now for 20 years, so I consider myself an Alabamian.
Sure.
I have a law practice here in Birmingham, practice some personal injury, criminal law, a little bit of immigration, but my experience comes from my clientele. 95% or more of my clients are Hispanics.
And more importantly, though, he has two, I'm sure, beautiful daughters, right? I've not met them, but you've got two daughters.
They are gorgeous. Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, if you will, I guess, first of all, before we go to our phone lines, I want you to sort of explain a little bit about what this last, well, you said earlier before the show started, the last reform on immigration law was 1986, so it's been a long time since we've touched on it again. Obviously, it keeps coming up in the news, but explain a little bit about what is on the table that the judge has blocked so far.
Okay, so a few months ago, the Alabama legislature passed HB 56. It was a law, a copycat law, just like the one in Arizona, Utah, Indiana, and Georgia. And this law tries to regulate immigration. And that's what is being litigated nowadays in the Northern District of Alabama. And that's the law that our judge here, Sharon Blackburn, has blocked until at least September 29th, until she has some time to figure out all the arguments, consider all the exhibits or the arguments that we gave her, and then she will most likely rule on it sometime before September 29th.
Okay, let's go ahead.
Yeah, just a real quick question, Freddie. I know we have callers lined up, but why is it, explain to our viewers, why is it that these undocumented immigrants can't just go through the process, the legal immigration process? What's the impediment there?
Well, there's a few visas for the amount of people that are applying into the United States. Take, for example, some of the immigration visas that are being considered right now by immigration are visas that were in place in 1995. So we have a backlog for over 10 years of the visas. If one would apply today in 2011, he or she would be expected to be heard on the immigration case in 10, 12 years from now.
Wow.
So it's a lengthy process, and it's a complicated process. Is that right?
Yes.
So it's not just about the money, and it's complicated. We've got Terry on the line in Talladega. Hello, Terry.
Hi.
Hey, what's your question tonight?
My niece started dating this guy in early school. They went through school together. They got married. She became pregnant, and about 4 weeks ago, she had the baby. The gentleman had to go back to Guatemala because he is not legal. He was born in Guatemala, but before he turned, I believe, 2, he was in the United States, and this is all he's ever known. And he was not here to watch the baby be born or you know, anything like that. But he went back before September the 1st, so he would not get in trouble and not be able to come back at all.
Okay.
So my question is, he has a lawyer, but the lawyer, it's so hard to get information out of him. And my question is Guatemalan, I know it's a little different than other, you know, other countries, but does he have to have a proof of need? Will that speed things up, or what do we have to, you know,
what do you have to do at this point? All right, Freddie, is that something you hear a lot of, a case similar to hers?
Yes, and unfortunately, the immigration status of a parent doesn't change because they have a United States children that is a citizen. So the person would have to prove a substantial hardship, that going back to the home country is going to cause a hardship to one of their, to that person, to the parent, or to one of their kids, that they depend on the parent, and if the parent is no longer in the United States, that's just going to cause a lot of hardship for the kid.
Okay, at this point, it sounds like they're having difficulty even with that attorney. Is it fair to say that it's okay to change attorneys if you feel like that one's not really the one you need at the moment?
Well, just like in any other area of the law, the client is the one that hires a lawyer,
Sure.
and they always have the option of changing.
Okay.
Yes.
We always say if you're not satisfied with your attorney, set up an appointment with that attorney. They should be willing to meet with you. That goes for any attorney, any field. If it's personal injury, if it's immigration, if it's criminal, set up an appointment with that attorney. They should be glad to meet with you, and if they're not willing to meet with you, then I think that would be a pretty good indication that maybe you need to make a change. So I recommend that to everybody. I think, Freddie, you'd agree with that. Yeah.
Okay. Tom's calling from Eastlake tonight. Hey, Tom.
Hey.
Hey.
What's your question?
Okay. I'm curious. I think that this HR 56 is discriminatory in a lot of different ways. And I'm wondering, I feel like it's against the U.S. Constitution as far as separation of church and state is concerned, as far as racial discrimination is concerned. And there was another level, and I can't think what it was. I'd like to know the various levels that this H.R. 56 is discriminatory, or at least against the U.S. Constitution, because the H.R. 56 is apparently going above the U.S. Constitution, and the federal government is responsible.
Sure.
For,
okay.
Although our Congress.
All right, Tom, I'm going to cut you off because I want the guys to sort of weigh in with their thoughts.
I mean, that's a great question. You know, there's the lawsuit out there that is challenging the constitutionality, I believe, of the immigration law. What are the bases, though? Answer that viewer's question.
It's kind of simple. The United States Constitution is the Supreme Court law of the land. And as such, it gives some powers to the Congress of the United States, for example, to regulate the post office, to coin money. And another one of those powers is the power to regulate immigration among nations. And that is our basis for the lawsuit, for the lawyers that are on this lawsuit, is saying that Alabama cannot regulate immigration. That field has been occupied by the federal government, and it's the federal government who is the one who should be regulating on immigration. And the argument of the lawyers, one of the arguments is that if we allowed Alabama, Utah, Indiana, Arizona, and Georgia to pass similar laws, we potentially could have 50 different laws in the United States regarding immigration.
And that would be tough.
Mm-hmm. All right. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to ask Freddie about employers and what they need to know about hiring an immigrant or a foreign worker. So stay tuned. We're going to answer that question when we come back.